Good morning, good morning. How is everybody? Now, did you guys survive yesterday? Okay, good. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on, and I think it's important that you understand the the way the world is going to be for a considerable amount of time, especially the markets, and especially for people who manage their own investments, trade stocks. Futures traders, we talk to them all the time here in the room, but after watching what happened yesterday, uh, man, we're in a new age. Okay, uh, I was doing the podcast yesterday. We were recording it, and I looked over, and the market had broken. I think we had broken 73.60 or 73.70. And I was like, okay. And then, we're doing the podcast and talking, and I wasn't really looking at the screen. And then by the time the podcast had finished and we had finished recording it, I looked at the screen and I was like, what in tarnation is going on out there? What the hell is this? This thing was falling apart like a cheap suit. It was just boom, 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 boom. And I looked at the order book and the order book was thin, right? I was looking at the ES order book and it was like fives and tens and 20s at every tick. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I just watched it. It was just dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And I thought, hey, something like, did some idiot launch a missile or what the hell happened? Right? Now, I didn't look at the news very much, and I try not to, right? But this is all going somewhere, so just bear with me. I'll give you guys some trades in a bit, but I need, especially the people in my room who are paying me, and those of you who are trading stocks, I'm going to go through something right now. Do you guys have the patience for it? Or should I do a special video on it? Okay, because this affects trading as well as people who try and swing trade stocks and everything. This market has changed. The old guys, like we have a friend of ours called Paul Asmar, who is one of, I totally respect this guy. This guy's like 40, 50 years of experience on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Ex-Spear Leeds and Kellogg, Goldman market maker, specialist, not a market maker, a specialist. Back in the day, to become a specialist, you had, like, not any idiot could be a specialist. Specialist jobs were handed down intergenerational, right? So he was on the floor, worked for SLKC, and years ago he told me, he goes, VWAP, I don't like this. He goes, and he didn't express it really. He just, I don't like these algos, right? Paul's the best, right? And Paul has forgotten more about specialists and market making that I'll ever know, right? But he said, I don't like the way this is going. Yesterday was a perfect example of what he was talking about. Hey, Dana, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. I was like, and I was trying to understand, and now I understand exactly. Today is so clear what he was talking about. In the old days, before algos, before electronic execution, If big orders came in the market, there was a delay. The market maker or the specialist would say, "Okay, hang on. I've got an order for 1 million shares that's for sale. You know what? 2 weeks ago, this guy over there said that he wanted to buy 1 million shares of this stock. Hang on, let me reach out to him." And there was a delay. He would reach out, call the guy, "Do you still want the stock?" "Yeah." "Okay, it's being offered cheaper." Boom. The order was absorbed. Now, when there's a large seller order that comes into the market, there is no delay, there is no negotiation, there is nothing. That order will hit the tape like a frickin' tsunami tidal wave, and that's what happened yesterday. And when that happens, I'm going to show you the ES order book, right? And I'm going to go and show you the NQ order book just for comparison, okay? Where is it here? Right? So this is the NASDAQ, okay? I know it's on sim, but I'm just showing you the orders. Do you see these numbers on the sides? These are the amount of offers, the amount of bids. So there's like 12 contracts, 11, 15, 17. There's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of orders at every tick level. Look at the NASDAQ, right? When it's 3 in the morning in New York, look how thin that there's some places where there's no orders in the NASDAQ. So if I came along and I put 100 contracts for sale in the NASDAQ, it would wipe the price down considerably. Same with the ES, but not as bad. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do you see how the price is jumping around in the NASDAQ where it's relatively stable in the ES? Okay? This is, for an old guy, this is worse than a penny stock. This is a frickin' disgrace. If you look at the depth of the NASDAQ order book, it's frickin' disgraceful, right? It is absolutely disgraceful to not have orders at every tick. I think, and I'm being very, like, I'm not a political guy, but I'm being very political here. This is a disgrace to have an exchange where you have the biggest companies in the world and the futures part of that exchange be worse than a 1992 pink sheet penny stock, right? There is no bids at price levels. Look at this. It's frickin' disgraceful, right? So now, having said that, these sort of conditions that we are facing, right? We haven't faced since the days when market makers were allowed to back away from orders, right? In the old days, like the scummy market maker, if you went to them to sell 100,000 shares, they knew you were selling this highs and they would drop their price so fast it would make your head spin, right? Yesterday we had that exact same thing happen. I mean, my clients profited off of this, right? You don't manage stops on that, Ian. You have to be trading $100 million to be able to trade that effectively, right? Every once in a while, a retail trader will get lucky in NASDAQ, but on the whole, unless you're really fast and really skilled, you will just get eaten alive. There's no way you're going to make money. Especially a new trader trying to trade NQ is going to get their face ripped off every day. And they're going to get sucked into the action like a kitten chasing a piece of string. But they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to get destroyed. You need to have serious money and technology to trade NQ. It's not worth it. But getting back to the point of yesterday, right? Yesterday I looked at this market and I went, okay, it's going to do a look below of 7270. And when it did that look below and fail of 7270, I bought the 80s and I sold 7390. And I did that on 10 or 11 contracts in one of my clients' accounts. 10 points, 10 contracts, fine. That's great. One of my big clients took that trade and he took it at 7280 and he sold it up at 7300. $7,300, he was gone by 7,300, but he took it with like 100 contracts. He made 100 grand on that trade, right? And that's all great, but what about the traders who were long stocks, who got flushed out of them, right? And then were right back up. They just got destroyed. And let me tell you, this is what's happening, okay? I'm going to tell you so, and then we're going to figure a way so you guys can protect yourselves, okay? There are money management firms in this business that are trillion-dollar firms. Wall Street does not want you to trade. They've made retail trading harder and harder and harder, right? Eventually, so you'll just give up, hand your money over to a wealth manager or put it and just leave it alone so they can get fees. You know what 3% or 2% is of a $20 billion fund? That's the fee they get for just doing nothing. Okay? So even if you're charging 2% on $20 billion, right? It's an insane, insane amount of money, right? It's definitely enough money to put gas in a jet. And $20 billion is not a big fund anymore, right? They want you to take their money and hand it over to them and just go away, right? Or they want you to buy a stock and piss off and not trade it. So we are going to have to get sharper. This is the point of what I'm saying, is if you're going to want to trade, you really have to know your shit. You have to know when to stay out of the market, when to trade, and when to mind your own business, right? Because if you don't and you try and how many people were trying to buy this dip? And I wasn't around in the room to tell people lay off, lay off, lay off, right? Because as soon as I saw that, was this about the helicopter being shot down? Was this the whole thing? Somebody help me out here. Or was there something else? Where are my news junkies? Yes? No? Right? I mean, obviously there was a news event that sparked the selling. Okay, there you go. So the net effect was that I call this a margin call robbery. Okay, so what happens is a piece of news comes out or something, and they shake everybody out of their position because people, you can't afford to be long at 73.60 and hold it 100 points down. You just can't afford that, so you're going to get margined out. If you're trading a stock, you're going to get margined out. The ranges are insane. The high yesterday was 74.90. The low is 72.50. There's no way you can trade that as a retail person, especially when the books thin out, right? Rates and bonds, right? I'm sure it wasn't just more than rates and bonds that precipitated that fall, right? A military fall, maybe all three like a perfect storm. Either way, these markets are thin and they're going to get worse. Remember what I told you guys weeks ago? I said these markets are going to get harder to trade. Do you guys remember that? Remember weeks ago I told you, even maybe months ago, I said it's not going to get any easier as we go into the summer. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So if you want to learn how to do this and not lose your house, for the love of God, ask me questions, come into the trading room. For those of you on YouTube, and we'll teach you how first not to lose money and not to do business at the wrong time. The first thing I suggest for traders who don't know what the hell they're doing is to trade Globex. because all these idiots are asleep, right? And they won't cause as much trouble when they're sleeping as in the middle of the day, right? So do not trade RTH, right? Especially if RTH starts getting twitchy, if the price action starts getting ridiculously fast, right? For the love of God, don't jump in there, right? Exactly. Globex is much more predictable, Ed, because you know why? You're an ex-policeman. You know why Globex is better? Because most 90% of the big criminals are asleep. So we have a chance to actually make an honest buck. When those bastards are awake, their algorithms, their size, they come in and they just pull all the bids, they pull all the offers. Everybody gets flushed out, right? Can you imagine owning a stock, having it go down, you know, a huge amount, and then coming right back that afternoon and just getting flushed out of the stock? It's literally like, on that sitcom from the 70s where the bully would hold the kid upside down and shake the money out of his pockets, right? What was the bully's name? The Gooch, right? Look at this. This shit should be illegal, right? And I never had any compassion for retail traders before because I didn't know any. But when you sit down with people and you talk to them and you see that they're just getting destroyed, absolutely destroyed, right? Because of news events and poorly built markets. We've taken the New York Stock Exchange from being the pillar of the economic world and we've turned it into a joke, right? We've got that idiot with the long Einstein hair and he represents everybody now. Like, come on. We don't even have a floor. We don't even, and oh yeah, the algos, blah, blah, blah. It's great. It's efficient. But when shit hits the fan, this thing is just ridiculous. Look at Apple, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you things like the look above and fail, and you should not have been long Apple anywhere over 310. Short sellers would have been short 310, stop 313, trying to cover at 300, and then at 287, right? And that's exactly where we went yesterday. Our low is 287.78. My level is 287.39, right? Let us teach you how to trade this stuff. If you're going to trade it, if you want to be a cowboy, we'll teach you how to ride a horse, okay? Because it's going to get even worse. I'm not a political guy, but my father used to write speeches for politicians, so I know they all lie, okay? This war's not going away. These economic conditions are not going away. And unless you're a billionaire with $200 million to trade in a fund, you can't be careless, okay? If you're going to be careless and you're not going to understand market conditions, you're going to get wiped out day after day after day, right? And now with funded trader accounts, you're just going to get beat up every day, reset the account, get beat up, get reset, get beat up. You got to know when to trade, you got to know when to sit out, okay? So now let's go look at today. What are we going to do? Overnight inventory is short, right? I'd say about 90% of the inventory is short, right? Why is it short? There's the close, there's the trading. 90% of the time and volume traded is under the close, okay? We had a huge move back up. The overnight low is telling us where the shorts are trapped from the move up yesterday, right? There are bids here. There are a ton of bids from 70 up. Look at where the market closed, okay? Do you think it's at all coincidental that the market closed at 73.90 and my level is 73.91 and a quarter? If you think that's coincidental, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you. Beautiful views, okay? Now, overnight inventory is short. We are looking for a correction upwards. We've already started to get one. There's that M low. So these are where people are short from the end of the day. This is the last half hour of trade. That's where everybody's short from. That's where the bids came in, right? So London is now opened. Let's go and see what London's going to do. I am still monkeying around with this balance area. The reason why I gabbed away for 15, 20 minutes is because I don't want you guys getting basically rolled and thrown into a dumpster, right? Which is, I'm sure a lot of people just got taken out to the woodshed yesterday. First, they got taken out of their longs, and then they tried to short it, and they got trapped short, right? The thing is, you can't trust this market. You can't trust this market. That's a good zone, Moran. I'm using a little bit of a bigger balance zone because I think we're going to have big, big, large ranges again today until we work out this inventory. I mean, look at that. Jesus. 72.47 on the low, and we closed 73.90, right? I'm glad you made 120 handles yesterday, right? I'm very happy for you. But I know a lot of people didn't. You're maybe 1% of traders, right? You're maybe 1% of, or half of 1% of traders who made 120 handles, right? And my large client made $123,000 on the long of 72 when he bought the 7280s, right? But, he's trading over $50 million, right? I know for retail traders, Alexander 2269, that you're less than 1% of retail traders made 120 handles, right? Less than 1%, right? And if you did, that's great, right? But you're in less than 1% of retail traders. Unless you're a fund manager, and I don't know. No, you're not in my room. I don't know you from Adams, so, you know, you could be managing 20, $50 million. I have no clue. A handle is a point. A handle is the way old people talk about one point, right? Just like in currency trading, what's that term they use? A yard. A yard is an institutional unit, which is a billion units of a currency, like $1 billion. Not pips, yards, Cisco. 1 yard is $1 billion worth of currency, right? That's when, guys like Victor Niederhofer and stuff like that, they talk yards, right? Like I'm buying a yard of yen, which means you're buying $1 billion worth of Japanese yen, right? Or a billion units, right? So, yeah, let's see what happens here. I'm not trying to be morose or anything, but I really want you guys, if you're going to do this, I would suggest if you are not a consistently profitable trader to not trade regular trading hours. It's a 23-hour market and you have a chance to make money in times like this, right? Use it. Make your money in Globex and then just leave RTH alone. If you are trading in RTH, right, say you're stubborn, right? You're like, no, JJ, I'm stubborn. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do what I want. Yada, 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 right? Trade it, but trade it at your own peril. And if the price action starts jumping around, do yourself a favor and get flat. Don't, when the price action starts jumping around, don't try and jump in there and trade it, right? You're going to get destroyed, okay? You got to be a little smart. You can't trade with your head up your butt, right? There's just no way that you're going to ever be profitable, and it's going to be very frustrating, right? So learn the business, learn when to take trades. If you're short off of the 69s, you can see that the sellers have been moving lower, right? And you know there's a little bit of position here at 64, so that's where you'd have your bids, right? Exactly. Globex is great, especially if you have, if you have the time zone working for you. Globex is from 6 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, to 9:30 in the morning, right? Yeah, Moran, and I told you over and over again that these markets have changed, right? So how do you, when you get one candle that is 20 or 30 points in length, right? And you don't have the skill to trade that. You don't have the speed. You don't have the internet speed to trade that, right? You don't have the software. Institutional traders spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just on their data feeds. They spend millions on technology. You're sitting there with an old laptop, and if you're lucky, you're wired into a fiber line. If you're not, you're on copper. You are definitely at a disadvantage. You should never try trading RTH on a cell phone. You should never try trading it on wireless, right? You're at a massive disadvantage. And then there's our software, because when it gets really busy, guess what? Our software freezes, our data freezes. Where if you pay 200 grand a month for your data feed, guess what? It's not gonna freeze. I told you to cover the 64, 65s. There's your cover, right? Right. And Alexander, I'm not beating up on you, but when you are trading retail, you're gonna have a lot of jokers coming around and saying, I made 100 handles or 100 points, 800 points, whatever, right? I caught a fish this big, right? Don't be influenced by that. Alexander, you may have made that money, and I'm not knocking you, but every time you see a massive liquidation or a massive rip, everybody comes out of the woodwork and says, "Oh, I traded that, and oh, look, and then I went to the Lamborghini dealership, and then I took my supermodel girlfriend for dinner, and we spent $1,000 on a steak, and then I got into my spaceship and I flew home." Right? Don't fall for that shit. Don't compare yourselves to others, right? Stick to your game, right? Okay. What does that mean? Lots of excuses to not catch moves? I don't know what you mean by that. If you're trying to be disparaging, it's not working. You better work on your insults if you're trying to be, because that kind of sucks. Lots of excuses to not catch moves. Uh, hey, listen, if you're going to come onto my stream and try and insult me, you got to do better, my friend. I don't even know what that means. Every once in a while, you'll get some dipshit who comes onto the YouTube stream and thinks they know what they're talking about, right? And that's cool, right? Freedom of speech and everything. But you're going to come into my house and you're going to try and try and insult me and the traders in my room. You got to do better than that, son. You got to do better than that. That's some bush league shit. Right back up to VWAP. Okay? Remember, inventory is short, right? uh, good luck. Alrighty, let's see if we hold the 69s. I just drew these levels, so now I'm going to see if they work. We went right back up to VWAP. Yeah, yeah. 3 a.m. Twitter fund manager who asks who's the seller. Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. Oh, yeah, a little chop right here. I think if we clear the sellers at VWAP, we'll have a nice little long from 76 into an inventory correction, but I'd give it a little bit more time. A little bit more time. Hey, Raj, what's up? Really choppy right now. What I'm really interested in seeing through the session is whether that overnight low holds. Right? See, you can see over the last hour and a half, the bid was here, then it moved up here, then it moved up here. So that shows the shorts are being forced to pay more. Now, why do I know that they're the shorts who are buying? Who the hell buys a low at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning? Right? Short sellers, people who are short from yesterday, like I told you. People who got caught short in the last half hour. Right? It's good to have you back, Dano. And that 73.70 seller is still there. So far, I'm seeing bids. Every time we look under 69 3/4, we see a bid, right? Upper stops are up here at 76, 78 and a quarter, and 81. There've been sellers there for a good hour and a half. So now, if there's enough people trapped short under 69, under 64, they're going to come in and they're going to start taking the offer. And you'll see the market starting to print above VWAP, right? You'll see the market printing above VWAP. Okay? So far you can see how they're selling right there? Yeah, David, there when I say inventory is long, it means the overnight inventory as compared to the previous close. So tonight, the previous close from yesterday is up here at 90, 73.90, right? And look, there's only this little bit of trading that's above it. The rest of it is all below it. So inventory is about 95 to 99% short. Now, why is that important? Because if inventory is short, there's a 60 to 70% chance that it will go in the opposite direction to correct. So you'll be looking for longs. Now, if inventory is short and it does not correct, the market is trying to tell us that sellers are desperate to get out of their product and they're not seeing buyers and they're lowering price. Everything we do in our room is tactical. Right? So if I'm looking for longs and inventory is not going higher, now I can see that there was a seller at 73, 73 and a bit, then it moved down, the seller. You can see how the seller moved from here to here to here to here. That tells me not to go long. Does that make sense? When you see sellers moving price down, and you want to buy, you want to wait until the market looks below 69, comes back up, and then clears VWAP, right? If you're a short seller, that's beautiful. If you were short 73, stop 74, you go in and you cover a little bit at 69, you go cover some at 68, and you put your buy orders down here. Does that make sense? So when inventory is not correcting, it means that the market is trying to tell you that something has changed. See? So there was no point in buying it on the look above and fail. I mean, the look below and fail. If you were long 70, 71, you would have been smart to sell it at 72, 73. This way you don't get stuck in bad trades. Does that make sense? Yesterday's point of control is up here near the overnight high. So short term, the inventory is here from yesterday. And we're just going back and forth and kind of scrubbing the market. I'm very interested to see how those buy orders down here, if they still react at 64, 58, and 54. Make sense? Let's see if we catch a bid somewhere here in the 65s. Now that, David, that is the inventory of the session. Okay? So session inventory of the entire Globex session is short. Now there is inventory on another time frame. So for example, If you looked at this 1 minute chart, you can see that above 65, all these people are long. So if we take out the 64s, there's more of a likelihood for a short-term correction lower. Even though session inventory is short, the inventory of the smallest time frame is long. Does that make sense? It's a bit of a strange concept, but in time you'll be able to understand it. There we go. We found a bid at 64. See? Last time they stopped selling here, this was where the support was after the move up, and we stopped here. So say you had been short 70, 71, 69. This would be a good place to take back a little bit, right? Buy back some, book some profits. All right, everybody understand that concept? How you doing, Ed? What do you got there? USA VWAP? Sorry, got to put my glasses on, Ed. DSA VWAP. Sorry, I thought that was a U. See? Got to pull out the old glasses now, Ed. I'm getting a little long in the tooth. After 58 years, I finally had to get some glasses. Well, it's really clear. Alrighty. Anybody have any questions? Right? So, what are the takeaways from this session? Number one, don't trade like a cowboy, right? There will be plenty of opportunity. Just make sure that you don't use all your bullets before you need them, right? Trade less, trade smaller. If the price action starts getting crazy, just stop. Cisco, is that you? Or is that one of those trading things where the guy's trading on the water and drops his laptop in the ocean? I always wonder how people who trade at the beach don't get sand in their laptop. Right? Man, if that was me, that thing would be, I would be like, oops, it'd be in the ocean, right? What was that one trading guy, the trading guru who was sitting in a tree trading? And then when he starts losing money, he falls out of the tree, right? Oh, man. Too funny. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. Yeah. Trading at a tree, trading on a surfboard, you know. Hey, look, you got to have some entertainment, right? It's like, I don't know why you would take a laptop to the beach. That's a lot. Trading on an elephant, right? You know, I don't know why you would take a laptop to the beach. That's the last thing I want to do when I'm at the beach is to look at the market. You go to the beach to forget about the market. Yeah. So we're taking out that 64 stop. I'd be looking for the 58s now down here, right? Yeah, and it overheats. I've never actually traded on a laptop unless I've had to, like if my machine went down and it's back up and I have to get out of a position. Let's see if 58 holds. You know, there are certain times, like right now, if you don't see a clear trade, right? I don't see a long here until it gets back above 73, 71. You know, right? It's the market's still working out its inventory from yesterday. I'd be looking for some support here if it comes down here and stops, goes sideways and maybe does this. But right now I wouldn't touch this thing, right? Don't touch it. Just relax. Wait for your A plus setup, right? Your A plus setup is business that you do, right? That you've done over and over and over again, so you know that you have odds for a profitable trade. There's no use putting money out there and just trading randomly, right? There you go, Chadwick. Is that Los Angeles? Good God. It's brutal, man. That's the quant team. Oh boy. It already feels like Friday, doesn't it? Alrighty. Let me know if you guys want to do an 11 o'clock session. Does anybody still have their wits about them? The SpaceX IPO is this week. I've heard that it might be on Friday, but I do not know for sure. Does anybody know for sure? You know, I've gotten a lot of time. Girlfriend is in the Caribbean for the next 6 months working. So I have a ton of time. If you guys need, if you guys want to learn, let me know, okay? Because I'm around. And my to-do list has shrunk considerably. So I am by myself right now, right? And I'm too old to get into trouble. So, you know, let's do some work. Let me know. Thanks, everyone. Stay out of trouble, okay? Wait for your trade. Don't get sucked in with all this crap. And remember, well, I'll be around at RTH. The next session will be around 9:15. I'm getting back to my full time sessions now with my voice. Voice is almost normal again, so thank goodness. I'm back to, full time. Mahalo, Cisco, right? Have a wonderful trading day. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you all in a little bit in our next session. Thanks for listening to the new podcast, Moran. Appreciate it. It was a little rough. The first one's always a little rough. We'll see. We'll got to settle into it a bit. We'll have lots of them coming. Thanks, everyone. Stay out of trouble. Don't take candy from strange market makers, and we will see you in a few hours. I'll be around if you need me, but I got to go get my steps in and show my girlfriend that I'm exercising. Otherwise, she's going to kick my ass. See you guys. Have a good morning. Bye for now.